Hey numbskulls, welcome to a new Q&A video. Before we get started, I want to say that some questions got cut. Some were for the sake of time, and others were because the answers overlapped with other questions. Anyway, let's get started. Mythical Slayer asked 5 questions. The first one is, what was your dream job as a kid? Well, as a kid, I wanted to be a rock star, like Hayley Williams from Paramore or Avril Lavigne. Looking at myself right now, I could say that I kinda reached that goal in my own special way. Next, they asked, what was your favorite show as a kid? If we're talking anime, I loved Doraemon. I used to watch it so much, but if we're talking American cartoons, I would have to choose Generator X. Next, they asked, what's your favorite tag? Other than the usual stuff, of course. I may be a little bit vanilla when it comes to tags, but I love tentacles. It should be pretty obvious, considering that I've made 3 videos that cover them, just through different contexts. Next, they asked, milk or cereal first? Well, I do cereal first. No particular reason, I've just always done it like that. Their last question is, have you ever been in a relationship? This may surprise some of you, but yeah, I was in a relationship with someone for about a year. It was an emotionally messy breakup, though. I had a really hard time recovering from it. Not because of the other person in the relationship, by the way. It was because it was all my fault. I became super clingy and annoying partway through the entire thing because I kept losing my cool around them, and it ended up ruining things for the both of us. So, yeah. The next question is from Goobliet. They asked, have you ever played Deep Rock Galactic or Deltarune? And if you have, tell us about it. Okay, so I've never heard of Deep Rock Galactic before, but I have played Deltarune. When I played it, it was through the PS Vita. I didn't have a PC when the first chapter came out, but I was lucky enough to have a modded Vita. The homebrew community made an unofficial port of Deltarune on Vita, so I played it like that. It was perfect too, since Undertale was also on there, so I got to play both of those games portably. It was really cool. And it goes without saying, but I loved the music in Deltarune. I still jam out to it on occasion. I have since deleted Deltarune on my Vita though. I didn't find myself going back to play it. Sonzilla, King of Hedgehogs asked, do you have any plans to start streaming? If so, what kind of content do you want to make? In my last Q&A, I did say I had plans to stream, but I'm gonna have to change that answer to a no. I just don't have the time for it, unfortunately. Hawkhack Tiger MCPE asked, favorite cookie? I love any type of Japanese cookie. They're so good. They're not too sweet either. I love munching on them either with a cup of hot milk tea or cocoa. B. Manda asked, who is your biggest fan? The answer probably isn't what you're gonna expect. My biggest fan is my brother. He was my first viewer ever, and he's been my #1 fan since before I started VTubing. I love you, bro. Hansel44 asked, why did you make the channel? And are you a big fan of Zone Tunes? I made this channel because of a few doodles I made back when I was a freshman in college. The doodles eventually became a small character sheet. During the summer of that year, I developed the design until I eventually ended up with this model. Originally, I was gonna sell it, but I couldn't let go of it. I put so much heart and soul into the design that I wanted to try and make content with it. So this channel became a bit of a passion project. I just loved what I created so much, and I wanted to make more stuff with it. As for Zone Tunes, yeah, I would say I'm a pretty big fan. So much so that the videos I make are directly inspired by the Education series by Zone. At least in terms of premise. I obviously put my own spin on everything. Greek Freak on a Leash asked, pineapple pizza, yay or nay? Some of you are gonna think I am weird for saying this, but yay. Pineapple pizza is a huge yay for me. I love it. It's so delicious, and it's probably my favorite kind of pizza. Lo asked, what films, music artists, video games, manga, and anime have been the most influential in not only your VTuber career, but as a person? Hard mode. Your answers cannot involve your kinks. Okay, so I wouldn't call this a hard mode question really, because I've talked about some of my influences quite a bit in a collab that I did with Joe Schmo. It's something called The World Ends With You. It's a game and an anime. My entire channel aesthetic and brand comes straight from these games. It heavily influenced my channel, but it also emotionally touched me. I played it during a time when I was completely lost in my life, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Those games taught me to enjoy every moment instead of letting negativity consume me. So I followed its advice. Now look at me. I'm a perverted anime girl on the internet. Thank you very much, Square Enix. And hey, if you haven't seen me ramble on about this game and the collab I did with Joe Schmo, I'd highly recommend you check it out. It's pretty cool. Nepkia asked, so who would you rather have Yuri intimacy with? Makoto from Persona 5, Chie from Persona 4, or Toaster from Persona 3? I'd have to go with Chie from Persona 4, because I love tomboys. Demon Queen Eusis asked a few questions. The first one is, what was your first ever anime that you ever watched? And are you still a fan of that anime today? As far back as I can remember, I think my first anime was Dragon Ball, but I have no idea which series it was, and it was some random episode that aired at the time. And honestly, I don't remember watching it ever again after that. But I think the first anime that I first watched with commitment was either Pokemon, One Piece, or Doraemon. When I lived in Japan, Pokemon was like huge, and to my understanding, it still is. I mean, I haven't kept up with anything Pokemon related recently, though. I sort of fell off with it after Oros on 3DS. Oh well. I am still a fan of One Piece and Doraemon, though. The next question is, are there any books that you personally enjoy or have fond memories of? If so, which ones and why? Oh, this is an interesting one. For me, it was a few books. The first one was A Series of Unfortunate Events. Those books really kickstarted my interest in mystery novels when I was younger. If you have a kid or are planning to have kids, I highly recommend this series as a stepping stone into medium level reading. Because it was just really gripping. It's a nice story, and it's something that a lot of people can enjoy. The next one for me was The Outsiders. It's this cool book about teenage gangs and street life. It had a really cool modern take on the Romeo and Juliet type of romance by using gangs in the modern time period. It was really cool, and it introduced me to the greaser style. Another one for me was Frankenstein. It gripped me with its subtle philosophical questioning on what makes a human or what makes a monster. Like, are we really all that different, or do we all have a little bit of monster inside of ourselves? If so, do we have what it takes to face that monster? I even gave a slight nod to this book in my Monster Girl video. Sure, I used a clip from the film, but whatever. Hold on, let me think. I would say that manga definitely counts, so I would throw Nanato Kaoru into the mix. It's a super accurate depiction of the BDSM kink and how it figuratively and literally bonds people together through the trust that they form while doing it. It's a beautiful love story that I found super relatable since I got into the same activities around the same age as the characters in the story. Nana was definitely the most relatable character to me, to the point where I self-inserted myself as her while reading. Wow, that's kind of embarrassing. Yeah. Anyway, I'd highly recommend Nanato Kaoru if you're super into that sort of stuff, but yeah, wow, this question really made me think. I guess it turns out I'm surprisingly well read. Their next question is, do you have a phobia? If so, would you be willing to share what it is? Dogs. I don't like dogs, they're scary. And now for a bonus question. What are you most proud of? It could be anything that comes to mind. I would say that I'm super proud of my channel, and the whole brand and community that I've built up through VTubing. Honestly, this whole thing is my pride and joy. Making videos and interacting with this community has given me some of the best years of my life. Thank you all so much. Ari asked, femboys or tomboys? Well, you see, I'm not a lesbian, but tomboys. Regid asked, what pancakes do you like? I like these things called mochi pancakes. They're so delicious. You don't even need like syrup or anything to make it taste better. You can eat it by itself. It also tastes really good while cooking. Hazy Flame asked, what is your favorite game for the PSP and Vita? Felt like asking after our brief talk about them. That is an excellent question. You see, on the PSP, I love Daxter. He's already my favorite character in the Jak and Daxter series, so there's that. But also, I think Daxter was like the first PSP game I ever owned and played to completion when I got my own system. And on my Vita, I love Gravity Rush. It's so good. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. And one of the games that inspired me to make motion comics on my channel, so how about that? But I would say a close second is the Ratchet & Clank collection. I think that definitely deserves an honorable mention. While I would place it above Gravity Rush in terms of how many times I've played it in comparison, it's technically not a Vita game. It's a compilation of a PS2 trilogy, which I also have the hard copies for, by the way. Instruction manuals included. Not to brag or anything. Anyway, I've gotten so much replay value and entertainment from these games for the past, I have no idea how many years, and I felt that it was appropriate to give it a good mention here. Alright, and that's most of the usual kind of questions. But in addition to these questions, I also got a large number of spicy questions, and some were genuinely thought-provoking. So it got me thinking, hey, why not make this into its own little segment? So now I present to you Skullyanna's dating and relationship advice. Enjoy. This first one says, when was the last time you went out for something fun outside your home? What was it? I'm trying to figure out where to meet a potential date, and to do that, I gotta figure out what the heck women even do. From Alejandre Daniels, or Austin Danger Powers 31. The last thing I did was go to the arcade. It's attached to a mall near my house. I go there about twice a week to play Dance Dance Revolution and Dance Rush with my brother. I also meet up with some friends there every once in a while. I've also seen some people at the DDR machines hook up with each other, so maybe that might be something you could be interested in. It's some of the most wholesome relationships I've ever seen. I've met a lot of people there myself, too. I've become friends with some fellow emo kids, communicating through dance. It's really fun. But I wouldn't say I'm a super good baseline for what most women do. For the most part, I'm a super perverted shut-in. This next one says, Skulliana, in your own opinion, is it fun having a kinky partner who you can trust so much? From Jackie Animates. I would say yes. Having a partner who can indulge in the same fantasies as you is a wonderful thing to have. You would be sharing intimacy in a way that other people can't. It makes the bond between the two of you unique and special. Having someone willing to indulge in these fantasies with you not only shows acceptance, but it enhances trust and expresses true feelings. And overall, it brings the couple closer. It's such a beautiful thing. This next one says, when do you think a fantasy goes from tame to extreme? What are some factors that change it? From Damsel Kaylee. This is a tough one. I guess it would come down to the intensity, content, and context. Intensity in the sense of what's being done in the fantasy. Is it soft and wholesome, or is it physically and psychologically rigid? For content, it would come down to consent. Are both parties reciprocating affection, or does the fantasy involve manipulation, coercion, or blackmail? It's all about boundaries and how they form together to create the fantasy. The fantasy can be tamed through how wholesome it ends up being, but it can be extreme if it's expressed rigidly. It's interesting to think about, since these are the kinds of things that you would have to consider in a relationship. When role-playing, you want to establish those boundaries to give the ideal experience to both partners. This next one says, have you ever done roleplay? If you have, what genre is your favorite scenario? From Blue Mario Media and Lady Steel. I have done roleplay before. See, I have this thing with skin-tight bodysuits. For me, the spiciest roleplay is pulled from superhero media or action shows with female characters. Namely, Totally Spies. That show was meant to be roleplayed, and for those wondering, I roleplayed Clover. It makes sense given my appearance. This next one says, Skulliana, this is super duper serious. Would you rather be tied up like a pretty little present or tied up to a chair? From Weekly Stars. Well, why not a present tied to a chair? If I were to give this idea to a partner, I'd want to get creative. Use Christmas-themed restraints and make the chair cozy, so you can both cuddle up next to the fireplace and have a wholesome time together. This next one says, with how open you are about kink talk, I wonder what your boundaries are on what you don't think you'll ever discuss and or cover in a video. At which point do you think is your line? Also, do you find yourself more of the dom, sub, or switch? I would say I draw the line at non-consensual stuff. I try to keep things consensual and positive with how I talk about everything. If you haven't noticed, I view it all as a form of self-expression because of the medium that I analyze everything under. Anime and VTubers. When kinks are expressed through an art form like these, it's easier to dissect them since it's often considered and composed in a way that takes advantage of the medium to make a meaningful message. Sometimes a beautiful romance, but because of the medium that I choose to look at things through, if there's a lack of filter, it can also highlight the negatives of certain fantasies, which is why I kind of draw the line at twisted, non-consensual stuff. As for the dom, sub, or switch question, I'm a sub. There's no getting around that. This last one has 3 different questions, from Evelyn for ZZZ. The first one is, what types of spicy situations are you into? I really like the idea of pet play. It's one of the softer aspects of BDSM, and it's cute. Probably the most wholesome way for couples to experience a master-slave dynamic. My love for this fantasy is probably evident by how emotionally touching my video on the subject is. The next one is, what are your plans for future videos? I have plans for a dominant woman video. I'm actually going to be collaborating with some people on that one. I also have plans to release an album. I'm calling it It's Not a Phase. Here's a quick preview of the album art. I haven't released anything publicly yet. This is like the only thing that I have for this. So yeah, I hope you like that preview. The last question is, do you love me, Scully? Yeah, I love you, Evelyn. And those are all the questions. My goodness, this is probably my longest video ever, but hey, it was kind of worth it, I guess. I have no idea how to end this, so, bye.